You're just watching the disturbing things on the internet. Yeah, I hope it does well.
Let's set the mood.
I was gonna say, what the fuck was I watching? I was getting ready for some weird shit to happen.
On the 22nd of May 2011, a devastating EF5 rated tornado ripped through the city of Joplin, Missouri. It lasted around 38 minutes and reached wind speeds of more or less 200 miles per hour. The aftermath photos are grim. And so too are the videos. For the past couple of years now, I've gotten a few recommendations about covering this upload. And to be honest, I never actually sat down and watched the entire thing all the way through. Life and such just got in the way. But I digress. The video is titled First Person Video of Joplin, Missouri Tornado, created by a user named IzelSG and uploaded on the very same day that this tragedy occurred. Their description claims that they took this footage inside of a Fast Trip gas station on East 20th Street. Initially, they hid in the back of the store before taking refuge inside of the storage fridge. While there aren't many visuals within their recording, the audio conveys everything you need to know about being caught in a storm of this magnitude. Have a listen.
At least probably 10 or 12.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's probably 18 or 19.
Your chin is getting real.
I haven't. Our power
Yeah, they said there was one. They said there was one on the ground at 7th and Range Line.
Yeah, but there's one coming toward us way on 20th.
We need to.
Get inside that. What is that room right there?
When stuff's breaking in the back.
Yeah, I know.
Can we go in the cooler?
Everybody grab this. Go. Get in.
Okay.
I think we're gonna do it.
Fucking hell.
I'm trying to put less weight on him though.
Ma'am, are you okay? I'm okay.
Who's right here?
Far out. Is that what they were in?
Thankfully, everyone in that store was okay that day.
Surely not.
The same, unfortunately, couldn't be said about the others that came face to face with it. In total, the storm took 158 lives and left over 1,100 people injured. Considering the fact that the tornado sirens fired off just 20 minutes before this happened, it's safe to assume that time to escape was minuscule. The incident in Joplin is haunting, and to date, it's cemented into history as the 4th deadliest tornado on record. Hopefully, 10 years later, they've recovered successfully and never, ever have to endure something close to this magnitude ever again.
I'm glad we don't get tornadoes here in Australia. So good.
There's one coffee made.
2012, a man had killed himself by the name of Israel Keys. He was a serial killer, an arsonist, a bank robber, one of the worst types of people that exist. The reason for his suicide was because he was caught after a kidnapping and ransom attempt over 18-year-old Samantha Koenig of Anchorage, Alaska. This is his ransom photo proving that she was alive, to which, in exchange, he had demanded $30,000. Except, in this photo, Samantha Koenig wasn't alive. Let's back up.
It's fucked.
On the 1st of February 2012, Koenig was working at a local coffee booth. She can be seen on this CCTV footage where everything seems fine. About 2 minutes into it, however, we can observe someone approach the window, to which she reacts with unease. Afterwards, we can see her hastily shut the lights off before carrying out his demands in the moment. After some back and forth, she opens the register and can be seen taking out cash to give to the man. He then demands that she kneels before he enters through the window. And a few minutes later, he proceeds to escort her out of the trailer. After this moment, she was never seen again. As it turned out, her final moments were grim. Later that night, and back at his home, it was reported that he sexually assaulted her, robbed her of everything she had, killed her, and placed her corpse in a shed. Even more bizarrely, the day after, he took off to New Orleans where he went on a 2-week cruise with his family. The entire time, she was left there and was
That's
never found.
fucked.
2 weeks later, and he comes back from his trip. Her body's still in place, and so Keys dresses her up with makeup and sews her eyes open for a photo with a recent issue of the local newspaper. He did this to invoke the belief that she was still alive, and like we established prior, he had put a $30,000 price tag on her. While this facade was happening, in reality, he had dumped her body in Matanuska Lake, a few miles north of Anchorage. Israel Keys was later caught. However,
How do
it
you get
wasn't
this
what you'd
fucked up in the
expect.
head?
As it turned out, he'd taken off towards the mainland US, utilizing Koenig's bank card for cash withdrawals as if nothing happened. Because of this, police were able to follow his trail and eventually tracked him down to a Cotton Patch Cafe in Lufkin, Texas. It was the morning of March 12th when Texas Ranger Stephen Rayburn would perform the arrest, and afterwards, Keys was promptly sent back to Alaska, where he eventually confessed to not only this act, but numerous others. By December of that year, though, he would be found dead in his jail cell. He had slit his wrists and tried to strangle himself, leaving behind his own corpse and various notes and drawings made in blood under his cell bed. To this day, police are still frustrated by this, as with his life went countless questions unanswered. Samantha Koenig was just an ordinary person working her job as we all do. She didn't sign up for this. She didn't provoke anyone, and she sure as hell didn't deserve the fate that she was given. What she thought would be just another night at work had devolved into a surreal night of hell. A night of hell that led to an injustice. And, frustratingly, there's nothing that anyone can do to ever bring her back.
That's fucked.
On August 28th of 2009, a California Highway Patrol officer named Mark Saylor was on a drive in a Lexus sedan with his wife Cleofe, brother-in-law Chris, and daughter Mahala. They were heading northbound on California State Route 125 towards Mission Gorge Road in Santee. While the circumstances outlined appeared to be ordinary, little did they know that their vehicle would lead to this venture being their last. At around 7 p.m., a phone call was made to 911. It was from Chris, and he could be heard pleading for help since his car had malfunctioned. Have a listen.
911 emergency. What are you reporting?
Yeah, we're in a Lexus.
I'm sorry, your cell phone's cutting out.
We're going north 125,
Mm-hmm.
and our accelerator stuck.
I'm sorry?
Our accelerator stuck. We're on 125, and we're in break.
Okay, northbound 125. Where are you passing?
We are passing. Where are we passing? We're going 120 Mission Gorge. We're in trouble. We can't. There's no brake.
Okay.
Gorge and freeway half mile.
Okay, and you don't have the ability to like turn the vehicle off or anything?
We're approaching an intersection. We're approaching an intersection.
Okay.
We're approaching intersection. Hold on. Pray.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Oh.
Okay. Hello?
Oh, that's fucked.
First tonight, we are hearing from the attorneys for both Bob Baker Lexus and the family of Officer Mark Saylor, who was killed along with his family in a fiery crash 1 year ago in Santee.
Today, Toyota announced it had settled the lawsuit with the Saylor family, but 10 News has...
As a result of this, everyone in that car lost their lives that night. The worst part about it is that the car wasn't even theirs. It was a loaner given to them by a nearby Lexus dealership. It was reported that the vehicle had reached a top speed of 120 miles per hour before crashing into a Ford Explorer and jumping off an embankment near the Mission Gorge Road intersection at the end of Highway 125. Witnesses claimed that the vehicle was thrown nearly 100 feet into the air before crashing into the ground and bursting into flames. After the incident, it was reported that the Explorer driver had suffered minor injuries and was promptly treated at a nearby hospital. For the family, it was believed that the accelerator had become stuck due to an engineering oversight in Lexus models that included rubber floor mats. After a myriad of other incidents related to this, Lexus eventually rolled out numerous recalls from the span of 2009 to 2011, most of which being related to the accelerator pedal. The sheer amount of issues in affected vehicles are staggering too. On your screen is a list of the recalls they'd sent out.
My car had a recall as well for like issues, but it wasn't like they weren't that serious like this. But I got it fixed up straight away because I was like, nah, fuck that shit.
And as you can see, a ton of them are related to the brakes or the accelerator pedal. By the end of it, over 5.2 million vehicles were affected, and in hindsight, it's safe to say that anyone driving a Lexus model from 2009 to 2011 were rightfully on edge. The families of the victims eventually filed numerous lawsuits against Toyota, and as a result, they eventually came to a $10 million settlement. No matter how you slice it though, no amount of money can bring someone back from a design failure that they had no control over. They didn't deserve to die that day, and his final 911 call will forever remain cemented into internet history as one of the most disturbing real-world examples of a simple weekend drive that shouldn't have ended the way it had.
That's fucked. Could you? Why is all the happy music now? What the fuck?
It's 7:23 a.m. on the morning of September 29th of 2016.
They were recent too, it makes it
Pascack
worse.
Valley Line Train 1614 departs the Spring Valley Station in New York, heading southbound for the Hoboken Station in New Jersey. One way, the trip takes about an hour by train, and on board that morning were an estimated 250 passengers. The ride itself is mostly okay, with nothing seeming awry. Time begins to pass, and train goers await the day of work ahead of them.
Those trains just look so packed that everyone's standing up.
8:45 a.m.
Stuff like that. And everyone's sitting down.
The train's approaching its destination. Being one of the busiest travel hubs in the region, Hoboken Station was lively as expected. The train approaches the terminal, and where it's typically required to stop, it doesn't. It maintains its full speed and crashes through the buffer stop at the end of the rail, causing passengers to be thrown throughout the cabin and forced into a manic frenzy with no clue on how to process it. We just kept going and going, no braking, no nothing, Jamie Weatherhead Saul claims. The moment feels like an eternity, at least until gravity does what it does. The train comes to a halt past the rails and up against the terminal wall, and the normally busy and lively train station is now temporarily declared a disaster area. On this day, 114 passengers are injured and one loses their life.
Only one died.
September 29th is now forever associated with a tragedy that should not have happened.
September 29th, 9/29.
While this event is tragic in and of itself, on the internet and through word of mouth, the mystery surrounding it is merely beginning to take root. Let's back up.
Good morning from the wires of Associated Press and the WKTV.
It's one day prior, the 28th. A central New York TV station named WKTV was broadcast on the usual 6 p.m. lineup. During a commercial break, however, something peculiar would overtake their station. Let's have a look.
Authorities have issued hazardous materials warning for the United States effective until September 29th, 06:18 for daylight time. Commute on the train. Wait for further instructions.
That's fucked.
Civil authorities have issued a hazardous materials warning for the United States, effective until September 29th,
That last
2:16
bit
a.m.
there.
Would you, could you, on a train? Interesting. Not only did they appear to be hacked, but of all things, it referenced a Dr. Seuss quote about a train. And the timing is striking. Immediately after, WKTV puts out numerous statements. From their Twitter. If you were watching our 6 p.m. newscast, you saw a hazardous materials warning message. There is no such warning. It was a technical error. And later that night, from their website. If you were watching our newscast around 6:17 p.m. or at 10:38 p.m., you may have seen a hazardous materials warning crawl across your screen. There is no such warning. The message was an automated test which was not intended for public display. This message originated from FEMA as a test and had the national location code in it. Tests should not have that code as it's automatically retransmitted. We've contacted the New York State Broadcasters Association, who administers the emergency alert system in New York. We're working with FEMA to resolve this. Our apologies for the confusion this may have caused. In total, there wasn't one, but 2 of these alerts. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find footage of them separately. However, it's safe to assume that they were either the exact same or very similar. Interestingly, if we pick apart their wording, WKTV is mostly pinning the blame on FEMA, the Government Disaster Relief Program. An interesting claim, but perhaps that's all it was. One day later, and the train crash occurs. WKTV releases yet another statement containing an update. FEMA replied that they did not send this out. They'll launch a full investigation into how their codes were hacked. WKTV seems to be the only target of this hack. For now, we've disabled the codes in our decoder that trigger this alert. If there's a real national alert, we'll still receive it from the local radio stations we're assigned to monitor. WKTV will cooperate fully with FEMA, providing information about our hardware, software, and internet access, and will provide log files from our devices. This information will be helpful to FEMA to track down the source of this hack. Oddly, around the same time that this was happening, other videos began to crop up showing strange alerts that had happened in places around the United States. While these are indeed strange and do hint at the possibility of a system-wide hack, the incident that occurred on WKTV was the only one of its kind to include this unusual Dr. Seuss quote. Unfortunately though,
So
to
fucking
this day,
weird.
the origin and motive of why this happened or who did it has remained unsolved. Of all the entries I've covered thus far on
Makes
disturbing
you wonder
things,
though if
this
they
is one of the
hacked
most
the train or not.
bewildering. Understandably, since this occurred, conspiracy theories have cropped up all over the internet, theorizing on the potential of the train operator being complicit and entertaining the idea that the crash was somehow planned by some external party. While I personally don't subscribe to these, what I do find highly unusual is the timing, and I don't think I'll ever be able to shake that.
So fucking weird.
An audible simulation, Mother Nature's wrath, a nightmarish abduction, a disturbing plea for help, and an eerie broadcast alert. The world can be a depressing, creepy, and disturbing place, and tonight's topics encapsulate that.
What the fuck? No, fuck this. Fuck this. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. We're not fucking putting up with that last one. If you enjoyed, I don't know how you'd enjoy it, but if you were entertained by this, please like the video, subscribe and all that. And thanks for watching.